Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wonderlust Wealth Show. Today we have a special guest on the podcast, Erika Brown. She is a powerhouse full-time real estate investor who focuses on teaching Black and Brown people how to get their time back with real estate investing. And she is the host of the Wealth Within Reach podcast. Welcome to the show, Erika.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
I'm so glad to finally get to sit down and chat with you because I feel like we've been social media friends for a while now, but we haven't actually spoken like in real life together.
I know, this is so great. I'm so excited. This is the first step to in person.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. And there's so many things I need to ask you. So I'm excited for this. So before everything though, who was Erika before the real estate investing, before the business, before the podcast, all of that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I was, young mom, working 9 to 5. I was a leader. I was a bank manager at the time, trying to figure life out. I very much, what's the word? I worked as a coach in lots of ways, not even realizing, because I'm just the kind of a person who loves to share information and loves to help people. So even before real estate, I was trying to figure out like, okay, let me help their finances. Let me, I was that go-to friend who was always trying to help people figure their life out. So it's very on brand that I do what I do now. So.
Oh my gosh. No, I feel that so much. It was so funny. I was thinking about this on my walk today. So I used to, when I was just in school, like literally this is middle school, high school, Olivia, I used to create these guidebooks, study guidebooks for everyone in my year. And I would send it out to them and be like, don't worry, I've got you guys covered. And I think about like all the programs that I make now and the courses and the guidebooks and now all the coaching. I was like, I've been literally doing this forever.
I love it. No, that's great. And then I will also say that I've always been like, I've always been kind of like what's the word? Kind of charting things in my own path. I've always done things differently. Even looking back, and I have like the worst memory ever, which is really a problem. But I have friends from people from high school, and they come back and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so not surprised you're doing this because you used to do this and this and that, and you used to always do things so differently." And that. So I also was a person who really didn't like. Actually, I've always been a kind of person who enjoy standing out versus fitting in as well. So yeah, I'm sure you can relate to that too.
I mean, have you seen my backdrop?
Yeah.
Yes, completely relate to that. So I guess, how did you even get started investing in real estate? Like what made you think about even going that route?
Yeah, absolutely. I worked at the bank and I was around really rich people.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I just realized, I'm doing this six-figure job. I'm still barely making it. I have these clients who, whether they are a CEO or they are a small business owner, they all have this common thread, which is real estate. And that drove me to wanting to learn more about it. And I had just became a house hacker, but I didn't know what a house hacker was. We had to pay for childcare, and we had this extra room, and so I rented out.
I love that. But that's how it starts. That really is how it starts. Because even for me, before I even really understood what house hacking was, I switched I was renting out a 1-bedroom at first, and I was like, oh, that's just a lot. I moved to a 2-bedroom, but rented out the house. So it's not even that I got a rental with someone. I just rented out the extra bedroom to a coworker who wanted to be I lived in New Orleans at the time. Mm-hmm. Our office was like an hour away, but she wanted to spend the weekends in New Orleans. So I was like, okay, well, I can spend less money by getting this 2-bedroom rental and then renting out the bedroom to her for the weekends. Yep. And I had no idea what house hacking even was at that time.
Yep. So it's very similar. And it's just like, okay, well, maybe there's something here. And then I just started to look into it and research more.
I love that. And, you touched on this a little too, but it's like you were working a 6-figure job and barely making it. And I remember when I was in grad school, I was so excited to finally get that 6-figure job as an engineer. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to be set for life. And then I started working. I'm like, this doesn't really go that
far. I know, right?
It's crazy. Yep. Okay. So you started first semi-house hacking.
Yep.
What does your portfolio look like right now? And then we're going to just kind of fill in the dots in between.
Yeah. So now, man, so we have small multifamily apartments, we have land, we have single family home, we have what we call single family home conversions. So majority of my portfolio is between Atlanta and Texas. And
Hmm.
I go back and forth between like 35 to 40 units. It constantly changes, but I'm kind of more so trying to move toward net worth versus units because who knows?
Girl, yeah,
How does it work for you?
exactly.
So yeah, that's where I am.
I 100% agree with that. And it was so like I was chasing the unit count a little bit a few years ago. And I was just like, wait, I actually don't want that many units. I want a few units that do really well.
Yeah. How much money are you making? After all,
Exactly.
is the question.
Because you can have 100 units and barely be like losing money on every single one. So,
Yeah. Facts. Facts. Yeah.
oh my gosh. Okay. So, how did you really transition from being like having that corporate mindset
Mhm.
to then becoming a full-time real estate investor? Because I think a lot of people kind of get hung up, especially with real estate investing, right? Maybe they buy one property, they buy two properties, and they still just kind of feel stuck. They're like, I think this is going to either take forever or like, how do I actually get to live the life that I really want to live? Like, what did that transition for you look like?
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a transition because I did not aspire to be an entrepreneur. I really thought that I was gonna like be fully satisfied with working in my 9 to 5 until I was 65. And so it was a small transition. It was, first, it was very much like, can I just make enough money to pay my bills? Like it
Yep.
was can I just bring in $2,500 a month? Like, very, like just survive.
Yeah.
And then even with that, I just immediately began really learning more about business. So not even just about real estate. I
Mm-hmm.
business classes. I was on my lunch break. I was taking workshops and seminars and just trying to learn. Because ultimately, now I know I'm a lifestyle investor. I
Yeah.
don't invest to achieve more. I invest to like make it work for me. And so I dove into business, and then little by little, my mindset started to change as I started to take small steps. So it's like I took a small step and, I eventually left my job and got my real estate license. It was like, okay, that was a big deal. And then it was like, okay, let's buy our first property and let's renovate it. And it was like, okay, we did that. That was cool. And then going, and then also within the process, I started surrounding myself around other people who were doing it too.
Yep.
I was like learning. And so it's like, let's learn together. And then that helped to expand my world even more. So I think between that and counseling and community, my mindset just slowly started to change more. And especially as I was also actually, having successes early on, that helped as well, even if they were small and slow.
But I think it's so important though to point out those successes, right? Because at the end of the day, like business, real estate investing can be like you're going to get kind of thrown in the mud a little bit,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And
very
but
much so.
yeah, but it's so important to still point out the small successes, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you can lose morale pretty quickly. And
Mhm.
I think that's when people kind of throw up their hands. They're like, see, this doesn't work. And it's like, well, you're not even taking into account all the progress that you've made
Right.
just to get here, you know?
Yep. And I think also because I'm a lifestyle investor, I realized that even during the hard times, my the wins outweigh the losses. It's like, okay, yeah, this is hard. Like sometimes you feel like you're working for money much more than you do when you have a W-2. It's like, oh
Yep.
man, I'm working for money. But at the same time, I'm not I'm not having to go into an office. I'm not having to work on someone else's time. I'm not having to work on someone else's mission. So even though it's hard, the harder it's harder for me. Like,
Yep.
and so you have to sit down and sometimes and say, okay, yes, this is hard, but would I trade this? And sometimes people do. They decide to go back to work or whatever full time. But for me, it hasn't been that. It hasn't been that bad.
Me too. Okay, I 100% feel this because I'm very much a lifestyle investor. I invest so I can live and travel and do my thing. I like literally, I think I posted this on my story today where today I'm working really hard. I've got 5 podcast episodes I'm recording. I am grinding things out. But tomorrow morning, I'm going hiking all morning and no one's going to hear from
Yep.
me. And I get
Yep.
to do my own thing,
Yep.
you know?
Yep. And you can't trade that. Like,
No.
that's amazing. That's what it's about.
Truly, truly. And I love what you said too about how you just took baby steps. And I feel like everyone goes through this curve, right? Where at first you get exposed to something that just like gives you that flash of like, wait, this is possible. And then you start consuming all the content, right? You start attending the free master classes. You start reading the books, listening to the podcast. You're like, okay. But then really, if you want to like truly up level and break out of whatever cycle that you're in, it's getting around people doing the thing that you want to do. 1000%. I remember the first conference that I ever went to. That was when I just literally 3 weeks later, I gave my 2 weeks notice and I was out
Love
of
it.
there.
I love it. Absolutely. That like it helps you to keep going too.
Completely. So I guess for you too, you're a mom, right? And I think a lot of people do feel this, especially when they have young kids, they're thinking maybe, am I being irresponsible? Like, is this something that I should be doing? What would you say to those moms?
Yeah, I would say bring your kids along with you if you can. Like my kids were young when we started. They were like 5, 6. Now they're teenagers. And we brought them along the process with us. We made them a part of the journey, and that actually taught them like now, oh my gosh, like seeing their work ethic now and how grateful they are. It really taught some really good principles because they were able to actually see how we fed them.
Yeah, truly. And they're like, well, we got to make sure we get this done.
Yeah, it's like legit. And so we brought them along the journey. And then very early on, I had a conversation with my family saying, okay, I'm going to go in because I created a real estate sales team and also started investing. And so I had a conversation really early on say, okay, I'm trying to figure it out this next year. I'm sure I'm going to be working late night. I'm sure I'm going to be working more, but my end goal is to be able to scale myself back. If you are willing to work with me first couple of years, again, my goal is to keep my commitment to my family and scale myself back. And because I was able to have that conversation up front, then they were more understanding. And then I had to keep my promise and making sure that I began scaling myself out, when the time came, and I did. And so that made it worth it. So then as we started other businesses, we kind of continued to try and have those conversations. But because the trust was there and they were able to see the reward and also my work ethic, that allowed them to be on board. And so what I see oftentimes, I may see like a significant other who is skeptical about investing, and a lot of times it's because they don't have the knowledge, and the other person who wants to go all in, and they're frustrated because they feel like this person isn't supporting me. But you have to also show up. Like you got to show up. If you take the course, you got to finish the course, apply it, and you have. So there's a trade-off if you want their support, you got to also show up and do the work.
Yeah.
And that helps them to be bought in. So now they're brought in, we brought them along the process.
They won their own properties.
Yeah. I have one going into college and he's so excited and he is trying to get NIL money so that he can house hack. And
my gosh. Also, what is NIL?
And I don't know what it stands for, but basically it allows college students to earn money while they're in college. It's a big deal now.
Excuse me?
They're no longer just working for free. They are making millions in college.
What?
Yes, athletes are making lots of money in college.
My gosh, that is incredible.
Yes.
That's incredible. That is a game changer.
My husband was a college athlete. And they couldn't do anything. Like they could not have a job. So them, getting paid, compensated somewhat for their time is a game changer.
Okay, y'all, do I have something exciting for you? Now, I just came out with a brand new free training on exactly how you, yes, you can get started investing in real estate within the next 3 months. Because if you're someone who wants more freedom in your life, the ability to travel the world and do the things that you actually want to do in life, you're going to want to listen up. Trust me. Now, this training is freaking awesome. I literally go in and spill the tea on the number one strategy that is working right now, like literally today in today's market. And I go over how to look at deals and make sure that they actually cash flow, and how to set your properties up so that you can run them from anywhere in the world. Like, I literally have managed my properties from over 6 different time zones. So if you are stuck in analysis paralysis, you don't know where to start when it comes to real estate investing, but you know that it's something that you want to do in the future, this training is going to be for you. So to check it out, click the link in the show notes or DM me the word hack, like HACK on Instagram, and I will send you the link. Now let's dive back into the show. Wow, that's amazing. Oh my gosh. And I love that you brought them along the way, because I think my dad like tried to do this when we were younger, but his job was boring and he went into an office every day. And like, did I want to be no, versus going to, and it's so funny because even when I think about hanging out with my mom and I would always go to open houses just for fun and things like that. And so just and I didn't even realize I had this passion for real estate until later on. But I think like the seed was probably planted early on, you know?
Sure. Yep. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So what do you think is really your specialty? And what do you really focus on helping people with?
My specialty with like how my strategy, or my specialty, like my superpower and how I help people.
Ooh, let's do, okay. Let's first start with strategy, and then we're going to go to superpower.
Okay. My strategy changes, but what I would say kind of my consistent strategy that my go-to is the BRRRR strategy.
Yep.
I love buying properties. Like I love negotiating deals, getting deals and negotiating prices down. I love a good rehab because I don't really trust somebody else's and I just want to do everything myself.
Yep.
And then I like going into properties with equity. So a big reason of how I've been able to accumulate like over 5 million in net worth in less than 10 years is because of the BRRRR strategy. So that's my favorite strategy.
Love it. I know it really is such a game changer. And the cool thing about it too is you can just keep recycling, right? So it's not like you can obviously tap into investors, but for anyone, especially if you're nervous about investors for that first one, you can take that money and just keep putting it back into properties, you know?
Yep. It's great.
I love that. So now what is your superpower?
Yeah, absolutely. My superpower is one of my top 5 strengths is arranger. So my superpower is taking very complex thoughts, or like real estate investing, for example, taking very complex thing and breaking it down and making it simple. And so I love doing that and helping my clients to see like the light bulb go off. Like when they come in, they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so clear. I had no idea that was an option for me. That is my favorite thing to hear.
I love that. And it really is a superpower, because I think part of the reason why people just never got started before is because people made it seem so complicated, right? They're like, oh yeah, real estate investing, this is only what the rich people do, yada, yada, yada. And it's just like, no, it's so simple.
It very much is. Yes. I agree.
What do you feel like is something else that just you constantly see stops people from investing?
I think what stops people from investing is them thinking that they can't afford to invest. But that's just because they don't have the knowledge that's available to them to be able to invest. I like house hacking is an amazing strategy. If you're like, I have a family, I can't house hack. Not true. We house hack for 3 kids and 2 dogs for not true. But also there's a strategy that I coined. I'm actually trying to trademark it. It's called the step up strategy. And it's essentially when you move into a house as a primary residence and then you end up moving into another house and you make that into a rental.
Yep.
And that's the easiest way that you can invest. So people don't realize that, their rental house is actually they're living in it. So very easy ways. I think if people knew that more and didn't just think, oh, I got to have 20% down, then more people would invest in real estate.
100%. And I completely agree. I think some people really love the whole, like, I'm going to buy 50 units in a year kind of thing. But for most people, that strategy is not going to work. It's going to be so stressful. You're going to hate it. But the easiest way is to literally just buy one house a year, run the numbers so that it makes sense as a rental property so that you can leave, right? But just one house a year, you know?
And then you look up and you're like, oh my gosh, I have 5 houses. And don't step up and house hack at the same time. Like that's what a lot of my clients do. And I mean, you can go from 3 to 6 and be making really good money in like 2 years. So
literally.
Yeah.
Okay, and I love what you said about how, like, you've got 3 kids, 2 dogs, house hacking. Okay, for the people who are like, I can't house hack because I don't have kids, what are some strategies that you recommend to them? Like, what house hacking strategies do you recommend that they do?
Yeah. So I could tell you the 2 that we've done. So we live in Georgia, and in Georgia we have basements. So the first way we house hacked was we actually bought a house that had crawl space, is what we call it. And then we made it into a basement. We got a renovation loan, 203K, FHA.
Love.
It was like, again, we had $3,000 down. We did not have money. And we took that additional space and we, made it a rental. At that time, it was still, we shared like common spaces with them. So that worked. And then our next house, we later ended up building a house. And what we did was we built a apartment over our garage. And completely separate, 2 bedroom, 1 bath. And so again, we're a family of 5 and 2 dogs. So we were able to live comfortably, but also have that apartment to rent out. And, we ended up moving out of that house. So now we made it into 2 units instead of 1. And, the cash flow is great. So those are just 2 of the many ways. You can also do like a tiny house or some type of ADU in your backyard. There are ways that you can still house hack and have a family and be able to do it where you don't have to share common spaces if that's what you don't want to do.
Completely. And so even like the house that I just purchased here in Colorado, I actually live in the basement. It's a very cute basement. Don't get me wrong. But I was like, it's me and my dog. We don't need a 5-bedroom house to ourselves. Yep. But what we can do is buy a giant house, rent out the main house. If I ever want to move into the main house later down the line, I can. But now I've got these 2 units. And while I'm young and sprightly, right, I'll happily live in the basement and rent out the main house and just cash flow from it while I'm living here, which is incredible.
Yep. That's great. Love it.
And I love that you're using the FHA 203K loan because it is such a hack. Out of curiosity, did you do FHA 203K streamlined or were you above that 25K limit?
It was above the renovation was $100,000. So it was the full loan.
Amazing. Okay, how was that process, right? Because a lot of people get nervous because maybe they've heard it's kind of, can be a bit of a pain in the butt, but...
Yeah. I mean, it was, but it was worth it. So it took 60 days to close. So it takes longer to close. So you can't be super competitive if you're trying, you have to buy a house that's not someone else is not trying to buy. So it took longer to close, but I actually feel like it is a great way for someone who is inexperienced with renovations to do renovations. Yep. I tell my clients that all the time because the bank essentially forces you to get it right.
Yep.
You don't have a lot of room to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked it because they put aside our mortgage payment for the entire renovation time. So we didn't have to worry about making a mortgage payment and still paying rent because we would still have to live elsewhere. So I like that they underwrite the contractor. So that forced us to have a really good contractor and license and things like that. Again, big first renovation.
Yep.
And then they paid the contractor in draw. So, we didn't have to worry about going over budget or those types of things. So I think it's a very safe way to do a large renovation because generally I don't recommend newbies to do renovations over $50,000. But in the event that you do, I think that the 203K is a great way to do that.
Completely. And it really depends on your location too. That's I had someone who joined my program. She didn't know about FHA 203K, kind of underwater on a property because she went into it, didn't realize how much the renovations would be. And I'm like, got into the FHA 200 Kayla.
They would have forced her to know how much it would be. And they
Exactly.
would have budgeted for contingency. Like the bank does not play. We needed that though, because that was our first renovation.
Yes. No, 100. I freaking love that. And then another one I always recommend is people can go NACA as well, because they'll also like roll in renovations. And like the beautiful thing about going with them too, because a lot of, especially, you know, in today's day and age, everyone's talking about creative financing, all of this stuff. I'm like, guys, for your first property, go through the bank and they are going to underwrite it for you as well.
Yep. They're going to make sure that you can make money.
Exactly. I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so like, you know, you have mentored so many people, and something that like you posted this on your Instagram a few months ago, but you hosted an event and gave away a house. Tell me more about that. Like, what even was that? I was like, this is incredible.
I know. So I've been to a ton of real estate conferences and I've learned so much. But it's hard sometimes when you go to real estate conferences and you're like the one of a lot of people who look like you. And then sometimes it's not even about that, because sometimes just from the stage, our experiences may be different. And so when I had a desire to host an event that was all inclusive of Black and Brown real estate investors, and that could speak to our journeys, our experiences, also have a bunch of people on stage that look like us versus just kind of like one or two.
Yep.
So I had this goal, and then I was like, okay, so I'm going to do something like super crazy. Not one, to help market the event, but also two, to just like show a huge amount of generosity, is also to give away a house.
Yes.
Yep. So we actually did that. We gave away a house. And we basically, with the cost of your ticket, you enter you into a chance of winning the house. And on the last day, day 3, we gave away a house to be one of my clients, which is crazy because we just did like a random lottery pool, and they needed it. They went through a lot in 2024. So it was like the biggest blessing. One quick thing I have to share. This this tells you who was supposed to win this house. So that morning, so their name is Amber and Donnie. So when they came on stage, they won the house. She shared that morning she woke up and she was praying for the person who was going to win the house. And I'm like, this is why it's your house.
Oh my gosh, my heart.
Oh no. So yeah, the house is in Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah.
They got a house that they're keeping as a rental, and they're gonna put a Section 8 tenant in there, and they're gonna be making like $800 a month.
That is amazing. Absolutely. Okay, so this is more out of my curiosity, because I'm like, I want to give away a house.
That's the only house I'm giving away. I'm not giving away any more houses. We are having the event again this year, but we're not giving away a house.
Okay, how come? Tell me why.
One, it was very ambitious and expensive.
Okay, that's literally going to be my question. Is like, okay, how did you buy this person a house?
Yep. We factored into the cost of the event, but it was very ambitious and expensive.
That's fair, but it's still so incredible that you got to do it. Also, it's crazy because like I'm hosting literally my very first retreat next month. Yay. And it's crazy because I just never realized how expensive it was to put on an event.
Very much. And
I'm like, oh, now I see why these cost a lot.
Yeah, especially if you want to do it at the caliber that I know that you want to, and that we did it. So yeah, it's not cheap.
No, it's definitely not cheap. But go to these events because they're literally life-changing.
They're life-changing. Like I meet people all the time. They're like, "Oh my gosh, your event was life-changing."
Yeah.
So there's something about being in that room. It's magnetic. I had I think she's been on your podcast, Sarah Weaver.
Yes. I actually we have a weekly call and we just chit chat about life. So I just had a call with her earlier today.
I love it. She's like, Erika, I've been to hundreds of conferences, and I've never been to a conference like this. She's just like, it was phenomenal. She's like, the quality of people here are just amazing. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yes. No, I'm so in. Literally, let me know the dates. I'll put it on my calendar.
Yep, working on it now.
Freaking amazing. I love that. Okay, so you've coached so many people. You've coached and mentored and everything.
Mhm.
What do you see as the biggest differentiator between folks who are successful and folks who maybe like aren't able to get their footing and aren't able to follow through?
Yeah, I would say the biggest difference are people who have accountability and people who don't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're because you can have the knowledge, you can not have the knowledge, you can all the things, but the difference makers are the people who are put themselves in community. They show up, they have accountability. Those are the people that take action.
Yeah.
Especially real estate has not been easy to do the last 2 years. Like I've had some clients it's taken a whole year to get their first deal, but the ones that show up consistently have accountability. Like we have like a accountability pods and they meet with each other and they keep each other going. Those are the ones that are successful.
Yeah.
Weren't.
No, I completely agree. And I even think about it for myself, right? Like
Mhm.
I even think about just from a working out standpoint.
Yep.
For years, I've worked out by myself and I've been totally fine. And a lot of the time I'll have a buddy come work out with me and I'm always so much more motivated.
Yep.
And then it's been like, especially as an entrepreneur, it's been like the last year and I've just been trying to work out by myself, all this stuff. And it got to last summer and I just like looked at myself in the car. I'm like, what are you doing? Literally, you are not sticking to your goals. You're not being efficient. So I finally signed up for a workout studio where it's like, it's a class, 7:00 every morning. If I miss, I'd lose $15. But having that extra accountability, I'm like, now I don't miss. Like,
You don't want to lose
no,
$15.
no, I'm there all the time, every morning. They know they're gonna see my face.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's just like sometimes we're human beings, right? And resting on motivation can only get you so far because it's so easy to lose motivation.
Absolutely. Fully. Absolutely.
No, I guess what are some things that you're striving for now in the future? Like what are you working towards?
So I've hit my kind of comfort level financial freedom number. So I'm working towards like the next level of that, which is, the higher level of just kind of like I don't have to worry about kind of anything from a cash flow standpoint. So I'm working towards operating more efficiently and increasing my cash flow. So essentially just collect checks. Like what is the easiest way that I can collect checks and cash?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm working on with real estate. And then outside of that, I have kids who are finishing up high school and I homeschool some of them. And so I am just really trying to live as soft of a life as I can. And
yes.
My kids, honestly, and travel. Like that's it. So between I have because I'm very much a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I always say I'm gonna always work with a small group of people to help them invest. I want to share ideas and stuff through podcasts, and I want to like travel and live my life.
Completely. I feel that so much. So
very deep,
much.
very deep.
When I also feel like, I'd say I'm in a phase of working hard right now, but that's mainly because I know I want kids in the future and I don't know how I'm going to feel. Like, I don't know if I'm going to want to just like say deuces, just live off of my real estate income and nothing else and not worry and just take care of my kids the entire time. But I want the option, right?
Yeah.
I want the option for when that time comes to be able to do it however the heck I want to do it.
Good job. Because you're doing exactly what you should be doing right now.
Yeah. It's like right now I've got the energy, but like when I have kids, I might want to just be like not,
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. So I guess because I love to talk about travel, what's some of your favorite travel spots that you've been to?
Oh, I was looking behind the picture, Lake Como. So Florence, Italy, like one of my favorite places. We're going.
Me too.
Yeah, we're taking the kids in the summer in July, so we're taking them to Italy. So Florence has been one of my favorite. Oh man, I'm trying to think. I always dabble in Paris. We always like at least go for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But I would say Florence is just a magical place.
I love it. I know I'm going in May. I'm going to this like Michelin retreat thing at a villa. I'm so excited.
Oh. That's not.
Yeah, I know one of my goals from a real estate standpoint, like whenever it's not like a this year goal, probably the next couple of years, I do want to scale into like boutique. It's like boutique hostel experiences. And I say the only reason I say hostel is more just because so whenever I was traveling when I was younger, I'd always stay in hostels, right? And I love the community vibe and aspect to it that you don't get from when you're living in hotels.
Yeah.
But then my goal is to now like elevate, because I'm over hostels, right?
Yeah.
Elevate the hostel life where you still have that community, built-in community whenever you're traveling, but you're staying somewhere way nicer. And I want it to be like quaint, beautiful villa type of situation, you know. But yeah.
That's my splurge. My splurge is travel for sure. Like I don't care what I look like during the day at home. But my splurge is nice luxury travel, Delta One,
Yes.
etc.
100%.
Yeah, give me that.
Oh my gosh. And so I guess what do you feel like is keeping you inspired and motivated now? Because I know for a lot of people, especially once you do hit that financial freedom number, it's kind of like, okay, you know, like at the beginning, you kind of have that drive. You're like, I'm getting to my financial freedom number. And then once you hit it, you're like, okay, what's next? So what do you feel like keeps you inspired and motivated?
I think community impact for me. I've always, even before getting into real estate, you know, I started an advocacy group. I've always done things for my community and for other people. And so specifically in the Black and Brown community, we have a lot of work to do from a wealth building standpoint. And so keep seeing my clients be able to overcome hurdles and change their lives is what keeps me motivated. That's why I'm probably going to always work with a group of people to help them invest. And so, because I think it's going to move the needle and make it easier for my kids and my kids' kids. So that is something that is just so important to me that I'm going to continue to give my time to.
I love that. And once again, I also completely feel that. Because for me, it's like whenever I see, like, especially with my coaching students or even people who just follow me on social media and consume my content, like literally I had one girl reach out to me the other day and she was like, I finally have a savings account. I'm like, amazing, freaking phenomenal. That is huge. And so many people don't have high yield savings accounts, you know? So like whatever way that I can help, that's just what continues to fuel me every single day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it.
I love that. And so I wanted to just quickly touch on, before we head into the 3 final interview questions, what's like a personal challenge or something that like people may not know or see that you've had to go through throughout your journey that has really shaped you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would say, and I know a lot of moms could definitely relate to this, but just the struggle between ambition and like capacity. You know, honestly, you know, I think that when you don't have kids or you don't have a family, like go hard, do it. Okay. Yes. And now for me, it's like I have so many ambitions, so many things I want to do, but then also my family is very important to me. So just that struggle between wanting to fight, because I don't want to say the balance, but trying to figure out what to say yes to in this season, what to say no to. When is it a time to kind of go hard in business? When is it a time to kind of pull back, focus on family? That has been a struggle that I've had to like walk through just throughout my entrepreneurial journey. And I don't always get it right. And sometimes I have to go back and apologize and vice versa. But I think I'm in a better place of accepting it now, because it can feel like you are holding yourself back or shrinking, whatever, that kind of thing. But then, you know, like this past weekend, I went with my son to a college visit. And so it's like, these are the things that are important. Like I can always do this later. I can always do this later, but I can't get this time back. So getting to a place of acceptance is been kind of where I am now, but it's definitely been a struggle for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like, you know, that's part of the big reason why it's so important to do something like investing in real estate and building some of that more passive cash flow, because you have the option and ability to pull back. Yeah. Right. Whereas for so many people, it's like, well, you either come back to work or you're done, you know? Yep.
Exactly. No, there have been times, you know, we talk about the fun things like traveling and stuff, but there have also been times where, you know, someone in my family may struggle with mental health and I need to like take off to do this, or we need to invest money for them to get this support. Like those are also the things that we've been able to do because of investing.
Yeah.
And I just think it should be talked about a lot more of the options that you have when you do have financial options, and you don't just have to settle for whatever is given to you.
Completely. I 100% agree. Okay, so we are going to go into the final 3 interview questions that I ask every single person on the show. Number 1, what does your ideal perfect day look like?
Ooh, this is cool. It's going to sound boring.
No, we love boring. We love boring.
So I wake up and do my whole, prayers. I'm a believer in Jesus, so I spend time in my word. And then I'm going to go on a hike. We have this local park that has like a beautiful hiking trail. I go on a hike, and then after my hike, I go to the coffee shop and just kind of sit and just watch people, like not working. I'm just like, maybe I journal, maybe not. And then I go home and I take a shower and do all that kind of stuff, get dressed, and maybe I go with my kids on a field trip or just somewhere where they want to go. And then I come home later, I take a nap at like 2:30 in the afternoon. And then my husband makes dinner and something because I'm not cooking. And and then we watch a show. I don't know. We have a good day. So just
that sounds wonderful.
Yeah. So a day with being outdoors, doing what I love, not having to look at a calendar, and just moving with being with whoever is in front of me. Like that's the best day for me.
Completely. And this is what I always tell people. Like, I think we always talk about the flashy stuff, like the travels and the luxury and blah, blah, blah. But like most people's perfect day is so simple.
Yeah.
It involves like some activity, some outdoor time, some peace and centering, some time spent with loved ones. For some people, there is some work involved because they really want to do whatever that looks like. But for most people, it's just so simple.
Yep. Very simple.
Ugh, I love it. Okay, question number 2. What's your mantra or something you tell yourself over and over again?
Oh man, that's a good one. Oh man, I don't want to sound cheesy, but I'm trying to think. What do I tell myself? Oh, a lot of what I tell myself is, if God got you through that, you can get through this too. And because even though I do all these things, I have all these things, I still struggle with fear and doubt every single day. And so I have to self-talk myself through a lot. And so I look at the past, I look at God's faithfulness, and that helps me to keep taking risk and moving forward.
Love it. Love it. And it really is true. It's like there's the quote where you've already lived your hardest days. So,
I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Question number 3. What does wealth mean to you?
Ooh, the decision to do whatever I want whenever I want to do it.
Yep.
That is fully what it means to me.
Completely. I love this so much, and I know you will have inspired so many people. What is the best way for anyone to reach out to you? Like maybe they want to come to your event later this year. Yeah. What's the best way to reach out to you?
Oh, definitely follow me on Instagram, Erika, Erika Brown Investor. Everything I do is there. Like podcasts and all the things are there. And you can connect with me there. So for sure, Instagram is the best way to get in contact with me.
Amazing. Well, this has been absolutely wonderful, Erika. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. So much fun.
Thank you so much for listening to Wonderlust Wealth Show. Now, don't forget to follow the podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you love this episode, it would literally mean the world to me if you shared this with a friend or a family member, or literally like anyone off of the street. Like right now, go ahead, share it so you don't forget, or post it on social media and make sure to tag me. I love seeing what you're listening in on and what you resonated with, and I'm just so freaking thankful for you. I'm so freaking excited for you. I love you, and don't forget, life really doesn't have to be hard.